Here, the surge of illegal migrants at the southern border showing no signs of letting up. Customs and Border Patrol agents encountered an all-time high of more than 1.7 million migrants during the fiscal year 2021, which ended in September. That's an increase of nearly 279% over 2020. Illegal crossings began rising last year, but skyrocketed in the months after President Biden took office, and it's been making bad headlines all year for the Biden administration. Leaders of border states are begging for help as the crisis ravages their communities. But former acting ICE Director Tom Homan says, don't expect any.
We have a president sitting in office and a Secretary of Homeland Security that did everything they could to keep the promises open border. And American lives are at stake. 100,000 overdose deaths. Migrants are dying. We got record amounts of COVID coming across this country. I mean, this is, in 2021 has been devastating for those who believe in the rule of law, because this administration is not only ignoring the laws enacted by Congress, they're actively violating it.
Let's bring in Mark Brnovich now. He's the Attorney General of Arizona. First of all, how is the administration, the Biden administration, violating the laws?
Well, on numerous levels, Arthel, thank you for having me on. We actually have multiple pieces of litigation against the Biden administration. They stopped building the border wall. They've stopped enforcing deportations of people with deportation orders in violation of Title 8 of the U.S. Code. And we have a lawsuit right now at the U.S. Supreme Court that I will be arguing in February, where the Biden administration has essentially monetized and provided incentives, including government benefits, for people that have entered the country illegally. So basically, the Biden administration inherited a strong economy, energy independence, and a secure border. And in less than a year, they've essentially gifted the American people with rising inflation, record energy prices and gas prices, and now the cartels have seized control of our border.
Well, listen, it took him a while, but President Biden restored former President Trump's Remain in Mexico policy, which was definitely not perfect. The border was not completely secure. He was on the way to getting there, we assume. But I want to ask you, though, why is re-implementing the Remain in Mexico policy so confusing?
Well, Arthel, it is just one step, and I would argue that the reason why he is trying to re-implement that is because of the lawsuits. That was also litigation that myself and some of my colleagues were involved in, and it was important to try to hold the Biden administration accountable. But that policy basically says that if you're going to make those asylum claims, you have to do those in Mexico. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. And let's take a step back. And I was a gang prosecutor, a prosecutor for years, and so it's all about the facts. It's all about the evidence. If you talk to Border Patrol agents, you look at the numbers, record amount of people illegally crossing. They've never seen gotaways, and these are people that aren't being recorded, that are evading detection. We know in Arizona, more than 9 million illegal or counterfeit fentanyl pills were just seized last year alone. Our office was involved with the bust with Scottsdale PD and DEA of enough fentanyl powder and pills for more than 6 million pills in one bust just 2 weeks ago. And that fentanyl, those are drugs that 2 milligrams can be deadly, and that's not staying here in Arizona. It's not staying in Texas. It's going to affect all of our communities.
Right.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
a problem for sure. But I do want to ask you, because that's coming through Mexico mostly. Is Mexico really on board with this Remain in Mexico policy? And is Mexico sufficiently equipped to hold up its end of the policy?
Well, the proof is always in the pudding. And as I said, the Remain in Mexico policy is just one part of that puzzle. One of the things that we saw during the Trump administration was they used the leverage of economic sanctions. They used a carrot and stick approach to get Mexico on board. What I worry about, Arthel, is that the Biden administration, you have Kamala Harris, who refuses to visit the border or talk to anyone in law enforcement here, essentially saying that she's going to give hundreds of millions of dollars to Central American countries to study the quote-unquote root causes of immigration. And we all know people come here, like my family, I'm a first-generation American. People come here because it's the greatest country in the world, and the rule of law means something. So why the heck are we spending hundreds of millions of dollars subsidizing Central Americans or Central American countries, studying root causes? And what kind of carrot and stick approach are we going to use with Mexico to get them to enforce the Remain in Mexico policy? Now, the president is the apex of power when it comes to foreign policy and border security.
Let me jump in
job.
there.
It shouldn't be the job of me as the Attorney General.
Right. No, a couple of things you said there. First of all, as we know, illegal immigration has plagued other presidents, and immigration reform has yet to come. And so you mentioned that Vice President Kamala Harris, you feel like she needs to step up to the plate a little bit more and visit the border more often. And also you mentioned that you feel that it's problematic to try to bolster the economies of some of these Central American countries from where the surge of migrants are coming from. So we know that the border issue has risen to crisis level under this president. What can he do to get a handle on this? All the things you said are problematic. What do you recommend to fix it?
Well, first and foremost, you have to acknowledge and recognize the problem. And the Biden administration refuses to do that. His enablers in the U.S. Senate should be stopping everything from happening until we secure our border. For example, Cartel Kelly and members of the U.S. Senate know that we have a record amount of fentanyl deaths in places like Arizona and throughout this country. In Pima County, the leading cause of death now amongst teenagers is fentanyl overdoses.
Right.
I would be standing up in the well of the Senate every day saying we're not going to vote on anyone until we secure our border. That means getting the resources, making sure that we're, for example, a decade ago we had Operation Streamline during the Bush administration where we aggressively prosecuted people for illegally entering the country to deter them from coming in. There are more than 1 million people right now, Arthel, with deportation orders. The Biden administration is refusing to deport them. That's why me and my colleagues are suing him, trying to get him to enforce the existing law. So the first step is acknowledging there's a problem. Second step is enforcing the law.
Now, you mentioned I got to go, but you mentioned enforcing the law and, demanding a vote to be held in Congress. They can't vote on what day it is, which I found out is Tuesday. Somebody just told me, because I forgot earlier.
They're voting on some really crappy cabinet people, though, or federal officials, so they can stop doing that at least. They can hold up those processes until they secure the border, force the Biden administration to do the right thing in the right way.
It's definitely a problem. We need to fix it for sure. Mark Brnovich, thank you very much for joining us.
Arthel.